Hi, my name is Courtney Brower, and today I'm going to be talking about why individuals should rescue dogs from shelters rather than buy them from breeders. What do you think of when you hear the word dog or puppy? I think about loyalty, love, and even laughter. Dogs have always brought so much joy into my life, and not just any dogs, but rescue dogs. My family and I have always drove to the local animal shelter and chose a dog that needed to be loved and saved. There's just something about that. When you get that feeling deep down in the pit of your stomach because you feel so good about what you're doing. I understand that some of you may never want a dog, and that's okay. Dogs aren't for everyone and they're a big commitment. But I hope you can stay tuned in to what I'm going to say because you can still make a difference. Helpless dogs are barely given the opportunity to have a new life because they're competing with dogs that are supposedly better, faster, and smarter just because they come from breeders. However, I've rescued dogs throughout my entire life, and I can confidently say that they're not only extremely smart, but they're also some of the most loving pets you can get. And regardless of personal opinions, each one of them deserves to be given a chance for a better life. If you're considering buying a dog, you should also consider the good that will come out of getting one from a shelter. You'll save a life, you'll be fighting back against cruel breeding, and you'll gain a lifelong best friend. Let's first start off with how many lives can be saved by adopting dogs from shelters rather than buying one from a breeder. It's obvious that when you rescue a dog, you're saving a life. However, you're actually saving two lives. When one dog gets adopted, it opens up a spot for another dog to have a chance at adoption as well. Each year, about 390,000 dogs are euthanized in shelters, and believe it or not, that number used to be way higher. Most people think a dog being euthanized is that they're just being put to sleep. While that is true in many cases, there are other methods that are used where some dogs aren't as lucky. They don't just receive an injection and fall asleep. Some are put in gas chambers while other dogs watch them suffer. An article titled Pet Statistics states, the number of dogs and cats euthanized in U.S. shelters annually has declined from approximately 2.6 million in 2011. This decline can be partially explained by an increase in the percentage of animals adopted. However, if breeders continue to get supported, then those numbers will quickly rise back up. Not only would adoption positively affect the number of deaths these animals are facing, but it would also help slow down the process of cruel breeding. Although dogs that come from breeders seem perfectly fine, they actually go through a horrible process. This is something that not many people think about when they're happily purchasing their new dog. But when these dogs that are bred don't meet the expectations that they were talked up to, they get surrendered to shelters as well, which contributes to the overpopulation that shelters are currently dealing with. This is why more awareness needs to be brought to this situation. The article titled 10 Reasons to Adopt a Shelter Dog states, puppies purchased at stores almost always come from cruel breeding facilities where dogs are confined to small, filthy spaces and receive little to no veterinary care. With over 3 million dogs in shelters desperately hoping for a home, I don't know how any breeder can say they care about dogs. It's a business to them, and people are in a business to make money. If they truly love dogs, then they wouldn't be part of the problem, and they would become part of the solution. So that's what I'm asking of you, to be part of the solution. Even if you never want a dog of your own, you can still advocate for them because it's the right thing to do. Almost everyone knows someone who would consider adopting a purebred dog. Just take a minute to educate them and tell them a story because although many dogs from shelters have gone through a rough patch in life, they are all perfectly eligible to become your best friend. It's also more common than not that rescue dogs and their owners develop an inseparable bond. Within just a few days, the pets adapt to their owners and are willing to give back unconditional love. Animals that come from shelters, specifically dogs, can understand how lucky they are to be given a good home with loving owners. Therefore, they develop sweet and fun personalities that are almost impossible not to love. An article titled Not Just a Saying states that 97% of all dog owners agree that their dogs are part of their family, and 93% say that they're one of their best friends. This fact should immediately grab the attention of several people because it's interesting to think that a dog can become such a big part of someone's life. From my personal experience, a dog is the one friend you can have that won't judge the way you think, act, or look. However, one of the best parts of having or owning a rescue dog is the welcome you will get every time you come home. Now, although I've given you some major reasons to consider helping this cause, many people do have personal reasons for wanting a dog that is fully bred. For example, they can want a dog that is for a specific activity such as hunting. However, almost any dog can be trained to retrieve, despite the fact if it's from a shelter or not. Others simply want to raise their dog from puppy stage, but they can find many young dogs, or even puppies at the shelter if they are willing to put in the time and to find them. I rescued the dog I currently have when he was just 10 weeks old. So not only did I get to watch him grow, but I also have the satisfaction of knowing that I saved his life and gave him a purpose. Unfortunately, things such as looks, price, and advertisement can influence the decisions people make when purchasing a dog. Which is why animal shelters are struggling to keep up with breeding businesses. For example, when the price is higher on one dog, it's labeled as better and is then bought quicker and with more confidence. In conclusion, I want you to imagine any dog you can think of. It could be big, small, young, old, just the first thing that comes to mind. I then want you to think of that dog when it gets placed into a shelter with no hope of ever leaving. It wakes up in a cage and waits for hours to get let out to use the bathroom. In the short time it has outside, it tries to take in the wind and the smell of the air. But soon after it's let out, it gets guided back inside where it waits for the day to pass and spends the night in that same dreadful cage. Now think about what the outcome would be if people stopped supporting breeding organizations. Animal shelters would be thriving because it would become common that soon after a dog is placed in a shelter, it would be adopted by a loving family. Just through this one change, the world would become a brighter place, and there would be less suffering for these innocent animals. If individuals began to look at dogs as life companions, then more people would be willing to rescue them from shelters rather than buy them from breeders. Thank you.